For Ferrari, an important weekend begins, the Formula One Canadian Grand Prix. The Maranello team, after 2 consecutive podiums in Monaco and the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, both achieved by Charles Leclerc, is called upon to silence with results the recent rumors suggesting that team principal Frederic Vasseur could be out at the end of the 2025 Formula One season. Both drivers have defended the French manager's work and want to close ranks by trying to give their maximum. The SF25 single-seater has performed decently in recent outings, at least in terms of race pace, but the performance is still far from the expectations at the start of the season. For this reason, Frederic Vasseur's name has been widely discussed, as has that of the Monegasque driver, who wanted to deny any rumors of a possible departure, once again professing his eternal love for the Prancing Horse. Let's now take a detailed look at how events unfolded for Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton in the first free practice session at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. The Ferrari drivers are in their cars and, after the usual pre-session checks, leave the pit lane to begin their first run on the Canadian circuit. Both SF25 cars are fitted with red compound Pirelli tires for this initial phase. The gearbox is set to the GX3 mapping, designed to allow fast but not overly aggressive gear changes. Lewis Hamilton immediately goes on the attack against the stopwatch, while Charles Leclerc opts for a preparation lap to bring the C6 tires up to temperature. The first laps are cautious, with the drivers assessing the track conditions made even trickier by the traffic on the circuit. Ferrari displays its usual traits: slight understeer on corner entry and a lackluster response in the slower direction changes. While Lewis Hamilton seems to struggle to keep the tires in the optimal window, his Maranello teammate appears more effective in temperature management, especially on the tire surface. In the first 2 sectors, Charles Leclerc still cannot find ideal grip, but in the third sector he is already among the fastest. It remains to be seen whether this is due to the chosen setup or simply a delay in tire activation. His sector times steadily improve in the following laps between the first and second sectors, indicating that it was more a matter of confidence and adapting to the track, combined with a more progressive use of the Pirelli compounds. However, everything comes to a halt due to an incident involving Charles Leclerc, who locks up his front right in turn 3. The Monegasque goes onto the grass, can't steer the car, and hits the inside wall with the front left, also damaging the rear left, thus destroying most of the left side of his SF25. Red flag and session over for the 27-year-old driver. Following the lockup of the front right, he went straight on and hit the barriers. The Monegasque driver apologized to the team and took full responsibility for the crash, aware that missing out on track time will cost him dearly over the weekend. A shame. The red flag was inevitable to recover the car, resulting in a stoppage of just over 10 minutes. Charles Leclerc, however, still finished in the top 10, a sign that he had started off strongly. Charles Leclerc makes a simple mistake, a lapse in concentration that penalizes him heavily just as he was gaining more confidence with the car. A real shame, considering the progress shown. About 10 minutes later, the session resumes, and Lewis Hamilton immediately returns to the track with another set of soft tires. After not even a full lap, the Briton also loses control of his car. Under braking at turn 10, the rear end steps out and he spins, fortunately this time without damage. He returns to the pits to mount a new set of tires. Overall, Ferrari's traction seems solid, but it is clear that handling still needs fine-tuning. The lack of rotation continues to be a weakness, the same one that led Charles Leclerc to the mistake and the crash into the barriers. Compared to his Maranello teammate, the Briton still needs to find the right feeling with the car, but at least he didn't crash. Upon his return to the track, Lewis Hamilton shows no clear improvement in lap times. He also reports an issue with the delta on the steering wheel and receives instructions from the pit wall to change his approach to turns 3 and 10. Enter more slowly to gain better exit acceleration. In the final phase of the session, the team focuses on a race pace simulation with a high fuel load, essential for analyzing tire behavior under more realistic conditions. The simulation consists of 11 consecutive laps, during which the SF25 single-seater appears generally stable, but still slightly uncertain on corner entry. The lap times remain fairly consistent, with a fast opening lap in 1.16.9, followed by laps in the low 1.17s. In summary, the potential is there for the Italian side, based on what was seen in the start of the preparations, but more work is needed on the balance front. The goal is to find a setup that allows the car to maximize performance by better managing both understeer and oversteer, making the car more responsive and competitive. On a more general review of FP1 at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Max Verstappen, the one who must avoid doing anything foolish to not risk being excluded from a Grand Prix, was the fastest in the first free practice session of the Canadian Grand Prix. The Dutchman clocked a time of 1.13.193 with his Red Bull on a set of softs, namely the C6 compound, on a very dirty and slippery track. The four-time Formula One world champion immediately looked competitive with the RB21, while McLaren was never really in the spotlight. The Woking team debuted a series of technical upgrades and devoted significant time to understanding the changes. Oscar Piastri, in fact, ran with a new front wing featuring a revised end plate to improve the outwash effect. The championship leader finished only 14th with the MCL 39, 1 second behind Max Verstappen. The Australian conducted comparative tests with two different wings, fitting rakes with sensors to gather data. What raised some concerns, however, was the difficulty Lando Norris had in getting the Papaya car to turn in, especially at the hairpin, where he frequently ran wide, ending up only 7th and half a second off the Dutchman. McLaren suffered from a lack of balance that made the car very unstable, but it remains to be seen how much of that was due to the choice of lower downforce wings compared to others. The handling through the chicanes was quite unstable, as if the car was lacking grip while waiting for the track to rubber in. It is no surprise, then, to see the two Williams cars right behind the Red Bull. Alexander Albon was second, just 39 thousandths off the top, with teammate Carlos Sainz close behind. The FW47, which struggled badly in Spain on a track requiring high downforce, is now performing better in Montreal, where aerodynamic efficiency is more important. George Russell is fourth with the Mercedes W16 single-seater, fitted with the rear suspension first seen at the Imola circuit, which has been brought back. The Briton is 342 thousandths off the pace, while Kimi Antonelli took a more cautious approach on the tricky circuit. The Bologna native is only 13th, half a second behind his teammate. The first Ferrari is Lewis Hamilton's, in 5th, over 4/10ths down. The seven-time world champion also made several mistakes, indicating there's still plenty of work to do for the Maranello team in view of the rest of the Canadian Grand Prix weekend. Unfortunately, Frederic Vasseur revealed that Charles Leclerc is set to miss the second free practice session due to a chassis change after his big crash in first practice. The Maranello team's mechanics need to carry out further checks, which takes some time. This means that Ferrari will have to collect as much data as possible with only one car in the second practice session for the Canadian Grand Prix.